Hayes stepped off the transport ship and into the docking bay of Sentinel Prime. The massive orbital station hung above its metal walls stretching in every direction. This was the Galactic Defense Academy, the most prestigious military school in the Coalition. Had dreamed of this moment for 2 years. She pulled her bag over her shoulder and walked toward the registration area. Around her, dozens of alien cadets moved through the bay. Some stood twice her height. Others had scales that gleamed under the lights. A few had multiple arms or wings folded against their backs. Had studied the member species of the Coalition, but seeing them in person was different. A tall reptilian cadet bumped into her as he passed. He didn't apologize. He barely looked down at her, steadied herself, and kept walking. The registration hall was enormous. Hundreds of cadets filled the space, their voices creating a constant hum of sound. Found the human section and joined the short line. Only 4 other humans stood there. Earth had joined the Coalition just 3 years ago, and this was the first class to include human cadets. "You must be," a young man said. He extended his hand. "Jake from Texas." Shook his hand. "Colorado, nice to meet you." 2 women and another man introduced themselves. Amy from California, Belle from Maine, and Sophie Grant from Ohio. They were the only humans accepted into this year's class of 300 cadets. "Anyone else nervous?" Sophie asked quietly. "Terrified," Amy admitted. A loud chime echoed through the hall. All conversation stopped. A bird-like alien walked onto the raised platform at the front of the room. His feathers were deep blue, and his eyes were sharp and golden. He wore the dark uniform of an academy commander. "I am Commandant," he said. His voice carried clearly despite his small frame. "Welcome to the Galactic Defense Academy. You have been chosen from billions across 47 worlds. You represent the future of Coalition defense." The cadet straightened, felt pride swell in her chest. "This academy will test you beyond your limits," continued. "Many of you will fail, some will be injured, a few may die. This is the price of excellence." Swallowed hard. She had expected tough training, but the Commandant's bluntness surprised her. "We will now conduct species assessments," said. "Each species will demonstrate their baseline capabilities. This ensures proper equipment calibration and training protocols." The cadets filed out of the hall and into a massive training dome. The floor was marked with different sections. Equipment lined the walls. Noticed most of it was huge, built for beings much larger than herself. The assessments began. A cadet, one of the large reptilian species, lifted a weight that had to be over 500 pounds. He barely strained. The instructors nodded and made notes on their tablets. A cadet with 4 arms completed an obstacle course in under 30 seconds. Her multiple limbs gave her a clear advantage. And cadet, similar to Commandant, flew through an aerial course with perfect precision. Then it was time for the humans. Jake went first. He performed well on the strength tests, lifting respectable weights. But when the cadets saw the numbers on the display, several laughed. What Jake lifted with effort, they lifted with one hand. Amy ran an endurance course. She completed it, but her time was average compared to other species. The cadets whispered among themselves. Tried the combat dummy test. He struck hard, but the impact meter showed lower force than most other species could generate. Sophie struggled with equipment that hadn't been properly adjusted for human size. She finished her assessment but looked embarrassed. Then it was turn. An instructor handed her a weighted bar. "Lift this," he said. His tone was neutral but heard the doubt underneath. She gripped the bar and lifted. It was heavy, calibrated to galactic standard units rather than Earth measurements. She got it over her head, but her arms shook. The watching cadets murmured. "Adequate," the instructor said, making a note. "Next test." Moved through each assessment. She ran the course, struck the dummies, climbed the obstacles. She finished everything, but she knew what the others saw. A small human struggling with equipment made for larger, stronger beings. When the assessments ended, the cadets gathered in groups, walked with the other humans toward the dormitory assignments. "Well, that was humbling," Jake said quietly. Behind them, loud voices spoke in Galactic Common, understood enough to make out the words. "The humans are weak," a deep voice rumbled, recognized it as speech. "Why did the Coalition accept them?" "Earth is a low-gravity world," another voice replied. This one had the clicking quality of language. They evolved in comfort, no real threats, no challenges. They will break in combat training, the first voice said. Made of glass, all of them. His hands curled into fists. She kept walking, her face neutral, but anger burned in her chest. That evening, she sat in the human dormitory common room. The others gathered around, discussing the day. Did you hear what they were saying? Sophie asked. They think we don't belong here. Maybe they're right, Amy said quietly. Did you see how much stronger they are? We can't compete with that. We didn't come here to compete on their terms, said. He was older than the others, a former Marine who had applied to the Academy after Earth joined the Coalition. We came here to prove humans deserve to be here. How do we do that when we can't even lift their training weights? Sophie asked. Stared out the window at the stars beyond. She thought about her father, a construction worker who had taught her that actions spoke louder than words. She thought about the hours she had spent in the gym back on Earth, pushing herself to exhaustion. We don't quit, said. That's how. Jake nodded. She's right. We knew this would be hard. We keep going. But later, when the others had gone to their rooms, stood in the corridor outside the training dome. Through the door, she could hear instructors talking. The humans won't last a month, one said. They're too fragile. We should remove them from combat training before someone gets killed. The commandant wants to give them a chance, another replied. A chance to die. That cadet, he could snap any of them like twigs without trying. His jaw tightened. She walked back to her room and lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Her mind raced with thoughts of the day, the assessments, the comments from other cadets and instructors. They thought humans were weak. They thought Earth was an easy world that produced soft beings. They had no idea what humans were capable of because they had never seen humans pushed to their limits. Made a decision then, she would show them, not with words or arguments but with action. She would prove that being human meant something more than raw strength. It meant determination, adaptability, the refusal to give up no matter how hard things became. She just needed the right moment. 2 weeks into training, his body ached in places she didn't know could hurt. Every morning began at 600 hours with combat fundamentals. Every afternoon ended with tactical exercises. The instructors pushed hard, and the alien cadets adapted quickly. The humans struggled. Instructor Vex ran the combat training program. He was covered in dark green scales with scars crossing his arms and chest. Each scar told a story of real battles fought across the galaxy. He showed no mercy in training and even less patience for weakness. Pair up, Vex ordered on the second Monday. His voice boomed across the training hall. Basic grappling techniques, watch your partner's strength. We don't want injuries on day one. Paired with a cadet named. The female stood a foot taller than, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the overhead lights. Ready? Asked. Her voice was soft, almost apologetic. They began the drill. Its movements were careful, controlled. She didn't use her full strength, could tell. Every time made a move, pulled back slightly, as if afraid would break. Stop, said after the 3rd round. Santeni twitched. Did I hurt you? No, you're holding back. I don't want to injure you, admitted. Your species is fragile, everyone knows this. Wanted to argue, but Vex was watching. She swallowed her frustration and continued the drill. But the word fragile echoed in her mind for the rest of the session. At lunch, sat with the other humans in the cafeteria. The space was divided by species, not by rule but by habit. Cadets sat together at reinforced tables. Cadets clustered in the corner where the lighting was dimmer. Cadets preferred the upper levels near the windows. The humans sat at a small table in the middle. I hate this, Sophie said, pushing her food around her plate. They treat us like we're made of paper. At least they're being careful, Amy replied. Better than getting hurt. But we're not learning anything, Jake said. My combat partner barely touches me. How am I supposed to improve if no one takes me seriously? Had noticed something else. She pointed across the cafeteria to where sat with other cadets. See what he's wearing. The others looked, wore metal bands around his wrists and ankles. Numbers were engraved on them. Training weights, explained. It's a tradition. They wear them to show their strength level. Those bands he's wearing are rated at 500 Galactic Standard units each. How much do ours rate? Sophie asked. Looked uncomfortable. The ones they gave us are rated at 50 GSU. Sophie's face fell. 1/10 of what he wears. It's based on our assessment scores, Amy said quietly. They calibrated everything to what we could handle. Slav carried across the cafeteria. He was showing off his bands to other cadets, flexing his arms. His eyes scanned the room and landed on the human table. He said something to his companions. They all laughed. Felt heat rise in her face. She knew they were talking about the humans, about how weak they were, how they didn't belong at the academy. That afternoon, approached Instructor Vex after class. "Sir, I have a request." Vex looked down at her. "Speak." "I want permission to train in the heavy gravity chamber." Vex's eyes narrowed. "That chamber is set to 2.5 Earth gravity. It would crush you in minutes." "I want to try." "Request," Vex turned away. "I will not be responsible for a cadet's death because of foolish pride." Stood there as Vex walked away. Other cadets passed her, heading to their next training session. She felt small, helpless, weak. But that evening, went to the academy library instead of the gym. The library was vast, filled with data terminals and holographic displays. She found a quiet corner and accessed the Galactic Coalition database. She searched for Earth's classification file. The file appeared on her screen. Planet Earth Sol System, Class 2 Garden World, low threat classification, minimal hostile fauna, stable climate, gravity at 1 galactic standard. Frowned, that didn't match the Earth she knew. She dug deeper into the file, reading the assessment reports. The assessors had visited Earth 5 years ago before the Coalition made first contact. They had surveyed major cities. They had examined Earth's technology and infrastructure. They had measured gravity and atmospheric composition. But they had never left the controlled environments. His heart raced as she understood. The assessors had only seen Earth cities where humans had tamed the environment. They had never experienced a hurricane, never felt an earthquake, never seen a tornado or a forest fire or the raw power of Earth's oceans. They had classified Earth based on its safest places, not its true nature. She accessed more files, Earth's climate data, geological activity, weather patterns. The information was there, buried in scientific reports, but no one had connected it to the assessment. Earth wasn't a garden world. Earth was a planet of extremes. Humans hadn't evolved in comfort. They had evolved to survive conditions that changed constantly, that challenged them every day. The data to her personal storage. She needed to show this to the others. But before she could leave the library, someone sat down across from her. It was a Sylvan cadet, a plant-based species with green skin and leaves growing from her shoulders. Her name was. "You're researching Earth," said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," admitted. "I've been researching too," said quietly. "They treat my species the same way, weak, fragile, unable to compete with the stronger races." Looked at her with new understanding. "What did you find?" "That Sylvans are stronger than they think. Our strength is different. We regenerate, we adapt, we endure," smiled slightly. "I think humans are the same, different strength but real." Over the next week, showed the data to Jake, Amy, and Sophie. They gathered in their common room late at night, studying Earth's true nature. "Look at this," said, pointing to a report on human evolution. "Persistence hunting. Our ancestors ran prey to exhaustion. We can regulate our temperature through sweating, which most galactic species can't do. We can run for hours in heat that would kill." "And this," Amy added, "human bone density and muscle efficiency. We evolved to throw objects with accuracy. No other species in the Coalition has that ability. It's unique to Earth primates." "So we're not weak," Sophie said slowly. "We're just different." "Exactly," replied. "They're comparing us to their standards, but human standards are something else entirely." The revelation changed something in all of them. They trained harder, pushed further. They stopped apologizing for their limitations and started working around them. But the other cadets didn't notice the change. To them, humans were still the weakest members of the class. 3 weeks into training, Commandant announced the trials. It was an academy tradition, a competition where cadets formed teams and competed in combat scenarios. The winning team earned special privileges and recognition. "Teams will be mixed species," explained. "You will learn to work with beings different from yourselves. This is essential for Coalition service." The cadets began forming teams immediately. Watched as cadets joined with warriors. flyers paired with ground-based species. Everyone sought strong partners. No one approached the humans. Made sure everyone heard his opinion. "I will not have humans on my team," he announced loudly in the common area. "They will only slow us down. Better to compete with 4 strong members than 5 weak ones." Other cadets agreed. The humans were left standing together as teams formed around them. "Looks like we're a team by default," Jake said, trying to sound cheerful, but saw the disappointment on Sophie's face, the frustration in Sai's, the resignation in Amy's posture. That night found in the training hall, she was practicing strikes on a combat dummy, working on her technique. "Still trying?" asked. He walked closer, his massive frame casting a shadow over her. "Why do you waste time? You will never be strong enough." Stopped hitting the dummy. She turned to face him, stood almost 3 feet taller than her. His scales were thick as armor. His muscles moved under his skin like steel cables. "Strength isn't everything," said quietly. Laughed. "In combat, strength is all that matters. A warrior would break you without effort." "Then prove it," heard herself say. The words came out before she could stop them. Sighs gleamed. "What did you say?" "Challenge me during the trials, a sanctioned duel." His heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. "If you're so sure I'm weak, prove it in the arena." The other cadets in the training hall had stopped to watch. Word of the challenge would spread quickly. Smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Very well, human, I accept your challenge. We will duel during the trials, and everyone will see what happens when a warrior faces a fragile human." He walked away, still laughing. Jake rushed over. "Are you insane? He'll kill you." News of the challenge spread through the academy like fire. By morning, every cadet knew that the human Hayes had challenged to a duel. Most thought she had lost her mind. Some thought it was suicide. A few thought it was brave but pointless. Ignored the stares and whispers. She had 13 days to prepare. The first thing she did was visit the simulation chambers. These rooms could recreate any environment, any gravity level, any combat scenario. Most cadets used them for team exercises, had something else in mind. She entered Chamber 7 during the late evening shift when few others were around. The room was empty, its walls blank and white. A control panel stood near the entrance. Programmed the chamber for Earth standard gravity and climate. The system hummed. Suddenly the air felt different, lighter, more familiar. The weight that had pressed on her for 3 weeks vanished. She took a breath and felt truly comfortable for the first time since arriving at the academy. Then she began to train. Had boxed in college. She understood body mechanics, how to generate power from her legs and hips, how to put her whole body behind a punch. But at the academy, she had been holding back. The equipment was calibrated for species much stronger than humans. The training partners were careful not to hurt her. Everything had been designed to accommodate her perceived weakness. Now, alone in the simulation chamber, stopped holding back. She struck the combat dummy with full force. The impact meter registered the hit. The number that appeared was higher than any she had scored during assessments. Not as high as a or, but respectable. She practiced for 2 hours until her knuckles were raw and her shoulders burned. Then she returned to the dormitory, exhausted but determined. The next day found her in the library again. "I've been researching physiology," he said, sitting down with his tablet. "Their bones are denser than ours and their scales are like natural armor, but there's something interesting here." He showed her a diagram. Evolved on a high-gravity world, their bodies are built to withstand massive pressure, but that same density makes them slower. Their reaction time is about 30% slower than humans. "So I'm faster," said. "Significantly, and there's more. Rely on overwhelming force. Their combat doctrine is all about power. They're not trained to deal with opponents who use speed and precision." Studied the diagram. "What about weak points?" "Joints like any species. The scales are thinner there, and their eyes are sensitive to rapid movement. It disorients them." Looked at her seriously. "But even with all this outweighs you 3-1. One solid hit from him and you're done." "Then I won't let him hit me," said simply. Amy joined their research sessions. She brought data on human endurance compared to other species. "Look at this," she said, excitement in her voice. "Human muscle efficiency and cardiovascular systems are superior for sustained activity. We can maintain high performance levels longer than most galactic species." "But the duel won't last that long." Sophie pointed out. She had joined them despite her concerns about the whole plan. Maybe not, Amy replied. But it means can train harder and longer than can. She can prepare more thoroughly. Jake contributed tactical analysis. He studied recordings of combat competitions, watching how they moved, how they attacked, how they defended. They telegraph their moves, he said. See, shifts his weight before striking. It's subtle, but it's there. With practice, you could read him. Absorbed everything. She spent her days in normal training, careful not to show any improvement that might alert. But her nights were dedicated to the simulation chamber. Discovered her there on the 5th night. I thought I might find you here, the Sylvan cadet said, entering the chamber. Paused her training. Are you going to report me? No, I'm going to help you, smiled. My species understands what it means to be underestimated. We know the value of using that perception as a weapon. Became's training partner. She was faster than the more flexible. She helped practice evasion and timing. They sparred for hours, pushing to react quicker, move faster, think 3 steps ahead. Good, said after successfully dodged a complex combination. But in the real duel, you can't just evade. Eventually, you must strike, and when you do, it must count. Knew this was true. She couldn't win by running around the arena. She needed to land a decisive blow. But how could she generate enough force to hurt through their natural armor? The answer came from an unexpected source. Instructor Vex called her to his office on day 8. Went nervously, wondering if he had discovered her unauthorized chamber use. Sit, Vex ordered. Said. Vex studied her for a long moment. You challenged. Yes, sir. That was foolish. Yes, sir. He will hurt you badly, possibly kill you even in a sanctioned match. Met his eyes. I know the risks, sir. Vex leaned back in his chair. Why did you do it? Because someone needs to show this academy that humans aren't weak, that we deserve to be here. And you think getting beaten by will prove that? I don't plan to lose, sir. Vex's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. You've been training in the simulation chambers. Don't look surprised. Instructors monitor all facility usage. His heart sank. She would be punished for unauthorized use. But Vex surprised her. I will not report this. In fact, I will tell you something that may help. He stood and walked to his window, looking out at the stars. Warriors are strong. We are proud of this strength, but pride is a weakness when it blinds you to other forms of power. He turned back to her. You cannot match strength. Do not try, but you have advantages he lacks. Use them. And remember this, in real combat, hesitation kills. When the moment comes to strike, do not hold back. Commit fully. I understand, sir. I doubt it, but perhaps you will learn. Vex gestured to the door. Dismissed and cadet. The arena floor is compressed stone, very hard, very stable, but stone cracks if hit hard enough in the right place. Left the office with her mind racing. Vex had essentially given her permission to train. More than that, he had given her a hint. The arena floor could crack. He was telling her to hit hard enough to break stone. The idea seemed impossible, but thought about Earth, about tectonic plates shifting and mountains rising, about the raw geological power that humans took for granted because they lived with it every day. She returned to the simulation chamber with new purpose. I need to increase the resistance on the training dummy, she told the chamber's computer. Maximum settings. Warning, the computer replied. Maximum resistance is calibrated for strength levels. Impact may cause user injury. Acknowledged. Activate maximum resistance. The dummy's surface hardened. Positioned herself, remembering everything she had learned. Footwork, hip rotation, full body commitment. She thought about every frustration of the past 3 weeks. Every condescending look, every whispered comment about humans being fragile. She struck. Pain shot through her knuckles and up her arm. The impact meter registered the force. The number was still lower than what could produce, but it was in the range that could damage armor. Practice the strike again, and again, and again. By day 12, her hands were covered in bruises. Her muscles ached constantly. But she could deliver a strike with enough force to crack the simulation dummy's reinforced surface. The other humans watched her transformation with mixed emotions. You're going to hurt yourself before the duel even happens, Sophie worried. I'm fine, insisted, though her hands told a different story. You're obsessed, Amy said, but there was admiration in her voice. "I'm committed," corrected. "There's a difference." Jake pulled her aside the night before the duel. "Listen, no one expects you to win. You've already made your point by accepting the challenge. You can withdraw with honor." "I'm not withdrawing." "Then promise me something. If it gets too dangerous, if you're badly hurt, submit. Don't let pride kill you." "Thought about that? I promise. But Jake, I'm not going into that arena to lose. I'm going to show them what a human can do." That final night didn't sleep. She lay in her bed, visualizing the duel. She saw herself entering the arena, saw across from her, saw the moment of impact. She thought about her father back on Earth, about all the people who had doubted her, about every human who would follow her to this academy in the years to come. Tomorrow she would step into that arena. Tomorrow she would face in front of the entire academy. Tomorrow she would either prove that humans belonged among the stars, or she would fail spectacularly. But tonight, alone in the dark, made peace with whatever came. She had prepared as well as she could. She had learned everything possible. She had trained beyond her limits. Now all that remained was the fight itself. Dawn came too quickly. Dressed in her academy uniform, simple and unmarked. No armor, no weapons, just herself and her training. In the hallway, she met the other humans. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They simply walked with her toward the arena, a silent show of support. The arena floor stretched 50 meters across, composed of compressed stone that could withstand heavy impacts. Overhead lights illuminated every corner, leaving no shadows to hide in. Stood at one end, her hands loose at her sides. Stood at the other end, his armored form radiating confidence. Commandant's voice echoed through the arena. "This is a sanctioned duel under coalition law. The rules are simple. Fight until one combatant submits or is rendered unable to continue. Lethal force is prohibited. Medical teams stand ready." He looked at Cadet Hayes. "You may withdraw without penalty. No one will think less of you." Shook her head. "I'm ready, sir." His expression was unreadable. He looked at Cadet. "Do you accept the terms?" "I accept," rumbled. His eyes never left. "This will be quick." Stepped back. An instructor serving as referee raised one wing. "Combatants, take your positions." Moved to the center line, approached from the opposite side. Standing next to him, the size difference was even more dramatic. His armored chest was level with the top of her head. His arms were thicker than her legs. The watching cadets murmured, heard scattered comments. "She's insane. This is going to be a slaughter. Why doesn't someone stop this?" The referee's wing dropped. "Begin." Charged immediately. He crossed the distance in 3 massive strides, faster than expected for someone his size. His right fist came down in a hammer blow that would have crushed her skull. Moved. She at the last possible second. His fist slammed into the stone floor where she had been standing. The impact echoed through the arena, cracks spiderweb from the impact point. The crowd gasped, recovered quickly and swung a backhand, ducked under it, feeling the air displaced by his arm rush over her head. She retreated 3 steps, maintaining distance. Grinned, running already. He charged again. This time he used a combination, left jab followed by right cross. His movements were powerful, but exactly as Jake had predicted. He telegraphed each strike with subtle weight shifts. Read his movements. She slipped the jab, ducked the cross, and circled to his left. Her footwork was clean, efficient. Every movement had purpose. "Stand still," growled, frustrated. The crowd's murmurs grew louder. The alien cadets had expected to go down immediately. Instead, she was evading with ease, making look clumsy. But knew she couldn't just evade forever. Instructor Vex's words echoed in her mind. When the moment comes to strike, commit fully. Tried a different approach. He swept low, trying to take her legs out, jumped but anticipated this. His other hand came up in an uppercut. For the first time, he connected. The blow was glancing, not full force, but it caught shoulder and sent her spinning across the arena. She hit the ground hard and rolled. Pain exploded through her left side. The crowd roared. Raised his fists in triumph. "See, fragile." Pushed herself up. Her shoulders screamed in protest, but nothing felt broken. The academy uniform had torn at the seam. Blood ran from a cut on her arm where she had scraped the stone floor. She stood. The roar of the crowd died down. Rolled her shoulders, testing the injury. It hurt, but she could still move. She looked at and smiled slightly. His triumphant expression faded. "You should stay down." "Make me," said. Something changed in that moment. The cadets watching saw it, had taken a hit that would have ended most fights, and she was still standing, still ready to continue. Charged again, but this time anger drove him instead of confidence. His strikes came faster but less controlled. Evaded most of them, taking 2 more glancing blows that left bruises but nothing serious. She was learning his patterns, seeing the rhythm of his attacks, understanding how he moved. His training paid off. His evasion improved with each exchange. She slipped punches by centimeters, reading his body language like text on a screen. 5 minutes into the duel was breathing hard. His attacks had slowed slightly. The crowd noticed. "Is he tiring?" someone asked. "Impossible, But it was happening. His high-density body, built for short bursts of overwhelming force, wasn't designed for extended combat. Meanwhile, his human cardiovascular system, built for endurance, kept her moving steadily. Amy had been right about human advantages. Knew it too. Frustration showed on his face. He had expected to end this in seconds. Instead, the small human was making him look foolish in front of the entire academy. "Enough games," snarled. He stopped trying to land precise strikes and instead began swinging wildly, using his superior reach to dominate the space. Couldn't evade forever. The arena had boundaries, was hurting her toward the wall, limiting her movement options. Her back touched the arena wall. Saw his opportunity. He charged with both arms raised, intending to slam into her with his full mass. Didn't retreat, she couldn't. Instead, she did something never expected. She moved forward, ducked under his arms, and stepped inside his guard. At this close range, his size became a disadvantage. He couldn't bring his fists to bear without hitting his own body. She drove her knee into his midsection. The armor there was thinner, designed for flexibility, grunted in pain. Then pivoted and struck his exposed side with an elbow. The technique was perfect, using her whole body's rotation to generate force. Staggered. The crowd went silent. Didn't give him time to recover. She struck again, targeting the joints where his armor was weakest. Each blow was precise, calculated, delivering maximum impact to vulnerable points. Swung blindly, trying to grab her. Slipped away and reset her stance in the center of the arena. Both combatants faced each other, breathing hard. Blood ran from his mouth where he had bitten his tongue. His armor showed dents where it struck. His eyes held something they hadn't before, respect and fear. "You fight well," admitted, "for a human." "Thank you," said. "Now let me show you what a human can really do." She had been analyzing the arena floor throughout the fight. Instructor Vex's hint about the stone cracking had given her an idea. The compressed stone was strong but brittle. It could withstand distributed weight easily, but a focused impact in just the right spot with enough force. Charged. Surprised by her aggression, raised his guard, but wasn't aiming for him, not yet. She planted her left foot and pivoted, generating maximum rotational force. Her right leg came around in a roundhouse kick, aimed not at but at the stone floor between them. Her foot struck the ground with every ounce of strength she possessed. The impact rang out like a gunshot. A crack appeared in the stone. It spread rapidly, a lightning bolt of fractured rock running from the impact point towards position. Looked down at the cracking floor, momentarily distracted. Pressed her advantage. She closed the distance in 2 quick steps. This time she wasn't holding back. This time she committed fully, just as Vex had instructed. She set her stance, right foot planted, left foot forward, weight centered. Every muscle in her body aligned for this single moment. Saw her coming and raised his arms to block. His fist came up from low to high, a rising punch that used her legs, her core, her shoulders, every part of her body working together. It was the strike she had practiced thousands of times in the simulation chamber, the strike that had bruised her knuckles and tested her limits. She aimed for the center of his chest armor, where the previous impacts had already weakened the material. Her fist connected. The sound was unlike anything the arena had heard before. Not a thud, not a crack, but a deep, resonating boom that seemed to come from the stone itself. His armor split down the center. His eyes went wide. The force of the impact lifted him off his feet. His massive body flew backward 3 meters. He crashed into the arena floor with bone-shaking force. The stone beneath him cracked. Deep fissures spread across the arena floor, radiating outward from where it landed. Chunks of compressed stone broke free and scattered. Dust rose into the air. Absolute silence filled the arena. Stood in the center, her right hand bleeding from split knuckles. Her chest heaved with exertion. Her uniform was torn and dirty. Blood ran from multiple cuts and scrapes. But she was standing, lay motionless on his back, surrounded by broken stone. The medical team rushed onto the floor. They reached and began their assessment. One of them looked at the referee and shook his head. He's unconscious, 3 cracked ribs, severe concussion, he cannot continue. The referee raised his wing. Winner, Cadet Hayes. For 3 heartbeats, silence continued. Then the arena erupted. Some cadets cheered. Others stood in shock. Many simply stared at the cracked arena floor, at the humans standing victorious, at the impossible scene before them. Looked down at her bleeding hand. She had done it. She had proven that humans weren't weak, that they belonged at this academy, that being human meant something more than raw physical strength. It meant determination, skill, the refusal to give up. Commandant walked onto the floor. He looked at the broken stone, at the unconscious, at. Report to my office immediately after medical clearance, Cadet Hayes. Yes, sir, managed to say. The medical team approached her next. They scanned her injuries, bruised ribs, dislocated shoulder, multiple contusions, and severely damaged knuckles on her right hand. You need immediate treatment, the medic said. Is it permanent damage? Asked. No, but you'll be in pain for weeks. Smiled through the pain. Worth it. As the medics led her from the arena, the other humans mobbed her. Jake, Amy, Sophie, all talked. The medical bay was quiet compared to the chaos of the arena. Sat on an examination table while a doctor worked on her hand. The doctor's 4 arms moved with practiced efficiency, applying regenerative gel to her split knuckles. You are fortunate, the doctor said, her voice carrying the clicking accent of her species. Another centimeter to the left and you would have shattered your metacarpals. The bones are bruised but intact. How long until I can use it normally? Asked. 2 weeks with daily treatment, 3 if you insist on using it before proper healing. The doctor fixed with a stern look from her compound eyes. I recommend rest. Flexed her bandaged fingers carefully. Pain shot through her hand, but she could move everything. I'll rest when I have time. The doctor made a sound that might have been a laugh. You are very human, Cadet Hayes, stubborn beyond reason. After the medical team cleared her, made her way to Commandant's office. Her shoulder was in a brace. Her hand was wrapped in white bandages. Every step sent aches through her bruised ribs, but she walked with her head high. Cadets stared as she passed through the corridors. Some nodded respectfully, others quickly looked away. Word of the duel had spread beyond those who witnessed it. By now, the entire station knew what had happened. His office door was open. Inside, the commandant stood at his window, looking out at the stars. Instructor Vex stood beside him. Cadet Hayes reporting as ordered, sir, said from the doorway. Turned, his golden eyes studied her for a long moment. Come in, closed the door. Obeyed, the door slid shut behind her with a soft hiss. Explain, said simply. Had prepared for this. Sir, I accepted Cadets' challenge under coalition law. The duel was sanctioned and monitored. I fought within established rules. That is not what I asked. Explain how a human cadet, classified as low-strength species, struck with enough force to crack reinforced stone and defeat a warrior. Met his gaze steadily. Because Earth's classification is wrong, sir. His feathers ruffled slightly. Elaborate. The assessment team that evaluated Earth 5 years ago only examined our cities and controlled environments. They never experienced Earth's true nature. They classified my world as a Class 2 garden world based on incomplete data. Pulled up her tablet, wincing as the movement hurt her shoulder. Permission to show you my research, sir. Gestured for her to continue. Displayed the data she had compiled. Climate records showing temperature swings of 80 degrees Celsius between seasons. Geological surveys documenting active tectonic plates and volcanic activity, weather patterns featuring hurricanes, tornadoes, and monsoons, fauna ranging from apex predators to deadly microorganisms. Earth is not a garden world, said. It is a planet of constant change and extreme conditions. Humans didn't evolve in comfort. We evolved to survive environments that shift without warning, that challenge us every day. Instructor Vex spoke for the first time. Show him the comparative data. Switch to another file. Human bone density and muscle efficiency are within normal galactic ranges, but our cardiovascular system is exceptional. We can maintain high activity levels for extended periods. Our temperature regulation through sweat allows us to function in conditions that would incapacitate many species. Our nervous system provides faster reaction times than species evolved on high-gravity worlds. Studied the data in silence. Most significantly, continued, humans have one advantage that the assessment missed entirely. We are adaptable. We can survive in almost any environment. We can eat a wider variety of foods than most galactic species. We can endure pain and injury that would disable others. We are persistence hunters, sir. We don't give up. And the strike itself, asked, how did you generate such force? Vex answered this time. Technique. Humans have been studying combat for thousands of years. They understand leverage, momentum, and body mechanics at a level most species never consider. Cadet Hayes used perfect form to maximize the force she could generate. Combined with her full commitment to the strike, the result was devastating. Looked at again, you held back during your initial assessment. Yes, sir, we all did. We were taught to be careful with alien species, to avoid injuring training partners, to calibrate our strength to academy standards. Paused. We thought we were being respectful. Instead, we created a false impression of human capabilities. An impression that nearly got you killed today, said sharply. Could have crushed your skull with a single blow. But he didn't, sir, because I was faster, and when the moment came, I was strong enough where it mattered. Walked to his desk and activated a communication panel. Send for the Coalition Assessment Team. We need a full reevaluation of Earth's classification. He turned back to, you are confined to light duty for 2 weeks while you heal. No combat training, no heavy lifting, understood. Yes, sir. Dismissed. Saluted and turned to leave, but Vex's voice stopped her. Cadet Hayes, well fought. Coming from Vex, those 2 words meant more than any medal. Nodded respectfully and left the office. Outside, she found Jake, Amy, and Sophie waiting for her. What did say? Sophie asked anxiously. He's ordering a reevaluation of Earth's classification, replied. Seriously? Jake's face broke into a wide grin. You actually changed their minds. We changed their minds, corrected, all of us by not giving up. They walked together to the cafeteria. The meal period was in full swing, and the large room buzzed with conversation. When the humans entered, the noise level dropped noticeably. But this time the attention felt different, not condescending, not dismissive, respectful, and in some cases wary. A cadet approached their table. Cadet Hayes, we partnered in combat training. Recognized her, I remember. I wish to apologize, said formally. I treated you as fragile when I should have treated you as a warrior. It was disrespectful. Apology accepted, said, and thank you. Other cadets came by throughout the meal. Some offered congratulations. Some asked questions about human physiology and capabilities. Some simply wanted to express their changed perspective. Not everyone was friendly. A group of cadets glared from across the cafeteria. They would view victory as a humiliation of their species, but even they kept their distance. 3 days later was released from medical care, went to visit him. She found him in the rehabilitation center, working on exercises to rebuild his core strength. The damage to his ribs had healed quickly thanks to galactic medical technology, but he moved carefully. Cadet Hayes, he said when he saw her. His tone was neutral, neither friendly nor hostile. Cadet, how are you feeling? Like I was hit by a cargo shuttle. He set down the weights he had been lifting. You cracked 3 of my ribs. The medical scan showed the damage pattern, a perfect strike, maximum force on minimal surface area. I studied physiology, admitted. I knew where your armor was weakest. Was quiet for a moment. Then he did something unexpected. He bowed, a deep formal bow from his culture. I underestimated you. I underestimated all humans. This was arrogant and foolish. I offer my apology. Bowed in return. I accept your apology, and I'm sorry I hurt you so badly. Do not apologize for fighting well. That would dishonor both of us. straightened. I have a question. When you struck me, you committed fully. You knew it might kill me if your aim was slightly off, yet you did not hesitate. Why? Thought about how to answer. Because hesitation would have guaranteed my loss. In that moment, I had to trust my training and commit completely. It's what humans do. We take calculated risks. Your people are warriors, said with respect. Not in the way are warriors, but warriors nonetheless. I see this now. Does this mean you'll stop telling everyone humans are weak? Showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. I will tell everyone that humans are dangerous, that they should never be underestimated, that a small human female cracked the arena floor with a single strike. This is far more interesting than calling you weak. They talked for another hour, explained combat philosophy and culture, shared stories about Earth's military history and martial arts traditions. By the time she left, they had developed a mutual respect that bordered on friendship. The official reevaluation of Earth came 2 weeks later. A coalition science team spent a month on Earth, experiencing hurricanes in the Atlantic, dust storms in the Sahara, and blizzards in Antarctica. They studied human evolution, physiology, and cultural development. Their report reclassified Earth as a Class 7 death world. The news spread through the galaxy quickly. Suddenly, humans were no longer seen as weak newcomers. They were seen as survivors from one of the harshest worlds in coalition space. Academy protocols changed. Human cadets were no longer assigned reduced training loads. Equipment was recalibrated to challenge them properly. Combat partners stopped pulling their punches. The 5 human cadets thrived under the new conditions. When the trials arrived, team formation looked very different. Multiple alien cadets requested to partner with humans. His team ended up with herself, Jake, and an flyer named. They didn't win the trials, but they placed 3rd out of 60 teams. More importantly, they worked together as equals, each member contributing their unique strengths. 6 months after the duel, graduation day arrived. Stood in formation with her fellow cadets in the main assembly hall. Her hand had healed completely, though she still had scars on her knuckles. Her shoulder no longer hurt. The bruises had faded weeks ago. Commandant called cadets forward one by one to receive their commissions. When he called's name, she walked to the platform. Cadet Hayes said, his voice carrying through the hall. You are hereby granted the rank of junior officer in the Galactic Coalition Defense Force. Additionally, you receive special commendation for exceptional courage and service to understanding. He pinned the rank insignia to her collar and handed her a small medallion. This medal is given for actions that fundamentally change how the Coalition views a species or situation, explained quietly. Only 3 have been awarded in the past century. You earned it the day you stepped into that arena. Accepted the medal, fighting back unexpected emotion. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Cadet Hayes. You taught this academy an important lesson. Strength comes in many forms. We should never assume we understand a species based on our first impressions. Later, after the ceremony, stood with the other humans on an observation deck overlooking the... So what now? Sophie asked. We're officers in the Coalition Defense Force. Where do we go from here? Wherever they need us, said. That's what we signed up for. I heard they're forming a new mixed species tactical unit, Jake said. Humans and others. They want to test how different species can work together in combat situations. Amy smiled. That sounds like something we'd be good at. Looked out at the stars beyond the planet. Somewhere out there, Earth hung in space. Her home. A world that had seemed ordinary to her growing up, but which the galaxy now recognized as one of the most challenging environments in known space. She thought about the journey that had brought her here. The doubt, the struggle, the moment in the arena when everything had balanced on a single strike. The crack in the arena floor had been repaired, but Commandant had ordered a small section preserved. A permanent reminder, he said, of the day the Academy learned not to underestimate humanity. You know what's funny? Said to her friends. We spent so much time trying to prove we weren't weak, but we were never weak to begin with. We just had to show them what we already knew. That humans don't give up, Sophie said. That we adapt and overcome, added. That being from Earth means something, Amy said quietly. Jake raised an imaginary glass. To Earth, the planet that breeds survivors. They all smiled at that. Survivors, that's what humans were, not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most advanced, but survivors, persistent, adaptable, capable of enduring and overcoming challenges that would break other species. As the sun set over the below, touched the metal on her chest, she thought about future human cadets who would come to this academy. They would arrive with Earth's proper classification. They would be expected to perform at high levels. They would be respected from day one. Because of what happened in that arena 6 months ago. Because one human refused to be called weak. Because she struck once and the ground cracked. Smiled, the galaxy was learning what it meant to be human, and this was only the beginning. Somewhere in the academy, the preserved section of cracked stone stood as a monument, not to violence or strength, but to determination, to the refusal to accept limitations, to the human spirit that had carried humanity from the caves of Earth to the stars of the galaxy. The alien cadets had called her too weak. She had proven them wrong, and humanity would never be underestimated again. Eeing at once, their voices filled with pride and disbelief. Pushed through the crowd and embraced her carefully. You did it. You actually did it. Looked back at the arena floor one last time, at the cracks spreading across the stone where her strike had landed, at the place where she had proven once and for all that humanity had earned its place among the stars. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again. Joined them then other cadets who had befriended the humans. By the time reached the arena entrance, a small group surrounded her. Inside the arena, thousands of cadets filled the seats. The entire academy had turned out to watch. The noise was deafening. Commandant stood at the center of the arena floor, stood beside him, wearing his full training armor, looking confident and relaxed. Walked onto the stone floor and felt every eye turn to her. The noise dropped. Silence fell across the arena. The duel was about to begin. Maybe said, but she was thinking about the data she had found, about Earth's true nature, about what humans were really capable of when they stopped holding back. We need a plan, said firmly. And so they began to plan, not just for the duel, but for changing how the entire academy saw humanity. The trials were in 2 weeks, had 2 weeks to prepare for the most important fight of her life. 2 weeks to show the galaxy what being human really meant. As sleep finally came's last thought was of her father's voice. Don't tell them what you can do, he had always said. Show them. Tomorrow, the real training would begin, and Hayes was ready to show them exactly what a human could do.